What's up, adventurers? My name is Platinum Phoenix, and welcome back to Pokemon FireRed. Last time, we went over everything that there is to do in the Safari Zone, and this time, we're actually heading out of Fuchsia City down Route 19 towards our next gym battle. So, we're just going to get into the water, and on Route 19, there's actually a couple of new Pokemon that we need to go over, and the first of them is Tentacool. Tentacool actually has a really great defensive typing, being a water poison type, which gives it 7 resistances, which is amazing. It also has a really decent ability in Clear Body, which makes it so your opponents aren't able to lower its stats, which is really nice to have when you have a defensive Pokemon that tanks hits well and can't have its stats lowered. But that's really where the positives of Tentacool and its evolved form end. Tentacool doesn't really learn a whole ton of moves, and it's its biggest downside, actually. It can learn moves like Giga Drain, Ice Beam, and Surf through HMs and TMs, but through leveling up and other HMs and TMs, it doesn't really get a whole ton. But next up, if you use the Super Rod, you can catch Seadra. Seadra is actually a FireRed exclusive, and it has the exact same ups and downs as Horsey does. It's a decent special sweeper, it has lackluster level up moves, but it does have a couple of good HMs and TMs. The biggest downside to Horsey and Seadra, however, is that Kingdra does not exist in this game, or it doesn't exist in the main story of this game. So you can't get Kingdra. But next up, the leaf green counterpart to Seadra is Kingler, also only found with the Super Rod, but it has amazing abilities. It has a couple of good level up moves in like Crab Hammer and Stomp, and it has decent moves from HMs and TMs. The biggest downside to Kingler, however, is that it is a physical water type, which doesn't work in Gen 3 and before. It's because of how typings work and how physical and special types are. It being a pure water type that has high physical attack doesn't work with how it does stab and everything. So that would be its biggest downside. But if you can work around it, Kingler actually does get a lot of good physical moves that it can take real advantage of. But with them gone over, we are apparently finding a Tentacool. We are just going to run from this guy. No need to fight the extra tentacle. But we have found dry land, and we actually have to go in here because if you look over here, there is a bunch of rocks blocking our way. So we're gonna just head inside the Seafoam Islands, and there are new Pokemon in here, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold off on talking about them because there's a more apt chance to talk about them later on when we actually have to come back here to do something. So I'm just going to show you the path that you need to take in order to get to that ladder over there, which leads us out to the other side of this tunnel. I'm also not going to pick up any items because I can do that on the next path as well. So we just need to push both of these boulders down these holes, and I'm actually just going to drop down this one because it lands us right next to the boulder. And yeah, this is basically just a big strength puzzle that you need to go through in order to... Well, I'll show you in a minute why you need to go through this. Where did it go? Did it just fall through? Where'd my boulder go? Oh, wait, never mind. I'm so dumb. I went up. Need to drop down. Here we go. And now we just need to push this one more. Yep. I wish you didn't have to redo the strength every time you went from floor to floor, because it gets pretty tedious after a while. Also, thank you, Repel, for going off. All right, just put another Repel on, and I believe I need to go up one more. Yeah, we need to go up this one, and there's the other boulder. And we just need to push this boulder. Come on, Zodiac. I really wish there was a way to skip past that prompt. The prompt that you have to redo this every time. I wish it, instead of like floors, I wish it was like, if you were in like a dungeon, that it would just keep it active the whole time. But the reason you need to push these boulders is because that water up there is harsh currents, which would have pushed you down or would have pushed you up that way. And you need this to be calm so you can surf over here and take this ladder. And once you take these ladders, it actually will lead you all the way up here to the top, in which you can get out of the Seafoam Islands and onto Route 20. Route 20 actually doesn't have any new Pokemon on it, but it does give me a chance to talk about something that I've brought up a couple of times, but haven't explained. I've mentioned high rolls and low rolls a couple of times, and the most basic way to explain that is that whenever damage is calculated for damage dealing moves, there is a random number that is assigned within the equation that can land at either 85 or between 85 and 100, basically. And what I mean by low roll is if it lands on 85, the attack only does 85% of what the attack can do. And then, of course, as you go up in the numbers, that increases the amount of damage that it does out of the max 100, which is what you get on a high roll if it rolls a 100. But with that said, I do not want to be on here because I do not want to fight this picnicker. Even if you run in front of these picnickers on the water, they actually don't fight you. Also, how dare you turn around? Oh, your daddy works on Cinnabar, huh? Well, that's actually where we're heading, so... You have two Pokemon, a Poliwag. I just noticed how weak these Pokemon are. Level 31 is how high the levels were, I believe, when we were fighting Silphco. So, you know, it's been a minute. And, yeah, just another level 31 Seeking. Also, Raiju is just absolutely destroying these Pokemon. It's not even funny. It's sort of a massacre is what's happening. And level 41. Yeah, we don't get anything for that. I think Raiju actually only learns one more move leveling up, but I forget when it is. But we have made it to Cinnabar Island. And before we end this episode, I actually want to go here to the Pokemon Lab, because there's a few things here that we need to go over. Also, Repel wore off. We study Pokemon extensively every day. People often bring us rare Pokemon for examination. All right. And if we walk over here, there are 3 rooms, and I just want to go into this first one because there are a couple of important people here. I found this most remarkable fossil inside Mount Moon. I think it is a rare prehistoric Pokemon. All right, and what do you have to say? Hello there, do you have a Raichu? No, I have a Raiju, actually. Would you agree to trade it for my Electrode? No, I do not have a Raichu and I do not want an Electrode. And what do you have to say? Hi, do you have a Venonat? Want to trade it for my Tangela? So yeah, we have 2 in-game trades right here, and we need to go over both of them. So the first one with the old man gives us Electrode, and Electrode is actually the fastest Pokemon in the game. Also, being an electric type, it's only weak to ground, which is pretty great, all things considered. And being the fastest Pokemon in the game makes Electrode an amazing support Pokemon, weirdly. Using moves like Light Screen, Torment, Taunt, and Toxic just to really irritate your opponents. But other than being a support Pokemon, Electrode only really gets access to electric type moves that are special attacks. So it'll be relying mostly on like Shockwave or Thunderbolt to be doing damage, and then really leading into supporting the rest of your team using those fast, irritating moves on your opponent. And the other trade gives us Tangela, which is one of only 3 grass type families in the game that is not poison type. It also turns into a really fast special attacker when in sunlight thanks to its chlorophyll ability, or chlorophyll ability. And that's really where the upsides kind of fall off for Tangela. Tangrowth doesn't exist in this game, so it has some real downsides. Like, it's only gets Sunny Day through TM, so chlorophyll can only be activated if you use a TM on it. It also only has 8 special moves in total, and 6 of them are grass type moves, so coverage is non-existent on this Pokemon. But similarly to Electrode, in Sunlight, Tangela can be a pretty decent support Pokemon, being really fast and getting a lot of good support moves. But with those two gone over, we are just going to head over to the next room here, the second room. And what do you guys have to say? Titch. I'll teach you a nifty move. Teach it to a Pokemon and watch the fun unfold. It's a move called Metronome. Does it strike your fancy? No, I do not really want it. Metronome is a random move. Basically, if you use Metronome, it has a chance of doing, I think, any move in the game. So, yeah, pretty random. Eevee can evolve into one of 3 kinds of Pokemon. I know, I have Raiju on my team right now, actually. And the last room is actually the most important room, in my opinion. I'm looking for a Pokemon Ponyta. Would you trade one for my Seal? I will not, but we have another in-game trade. So Seal has an amazing ability in Thick Fat, being able to reduce the damage of fire and ice type moves, which, granted, it is a water type, so neither of those moves are super effective on it anyway, and both of them are actually resisted. But it's nice to just be able to completely forget about those types, even when it evolves and gains the ice typing. So it's just really nice to have. It also gets the upside of learning Ice Beam through a level up, so you don't have to go to the game corner and buy Ice Beam for it, which is an amazing upside. It's also just a tanky water type, which is really nice to have. I've shown that tanky water types with Tortle are really good to have. Also, I just wouldn't recommend doing this trade. You can catch a Seal very easily in the Seafoam Islands, and that's where I would recommend catching it if you really want a Seal. But the last thing I want to do here is talk to this guy if he would not walk away from me. Hiya! I'm an important doctor. Dude, if you're important, you don't need to say you're important. That's like the first thing you learn. Yes, very much so, indeed. Here I study rare Pokemon fossils. All the time I study. Have you a fossil for me? So we've finally gotten to the place where we can revive that dome fossil we got all the way back in Mount Moon, as well as the old amber that we got later in Pewter City. But I'm going to revive this dome fossil first. Oh, that's a dome fossil, is it? It is fossil of Kabuto. I think you missed a word there. A Pokemon that is already extinct. My resurrection machine will make that Pokemon live again, yes. So you hurry and give that to me. And we hand over the dome fossil to the weird doctor. I take a little time. You go for a walk a little while. And so basically what you have to do to revive the fossil is just walk out of the room and walk directly back in. And I'm pretty sure he's going to yell at us for taking too much time. You late! Where were you? Your fossil is back to life. It a Kabuto, like I think. And we got a Kabuto. And no, I'm not nicknaming it because I am not using it. And the other one that we can get is using the old Amber It is fossil of Aerodactyl, a Pokemon that is already extinct. My resurrection machine will make that Pokemon live again. Yes, so you hurry and give me that. I take a little time. You go for a walk. A little while. Okay, well, giving him that, I need to go over Aerodactyl. The biggest downside of Aerodactyl is you get it at level 5, like all of the other fossils. But I would argue that is where the downsides stop. It has Rockhead as an ability, which I would highly recommend over Pressure, just because it has moves that do recoil damage that it can take really good advantage of. It has a decent level up moveset, learning Wing Attack, or I think it has Wing Attack from the start, and then it gets moves like Bite and Ancient Power, which are really nice coverage. It's also just a really fast physical attacker, which is good for a rock flying type, honestly. It also has an amazing TM and HM moveset, or learn set, as well as really good moves it learns from move tutors. It can learn moves like Fly, Earthquake, Rock Slide, Dragon Claw, Steel Wing, and even like Double Edge. It gets so many good moves. And honestly, I would highly recommend it if you're still looking for a Pokemon. And it's just, I wish it started higher than level 5, but that is really the only downside. With that being said, you late, where were you? Your fossil is back to life. It was Aerodactyl, like I think. And we revived Aerodactyl, and as you may have guessed from me talking about it, this is the final team member of my team. And the nickname I have decided for it is Terra. I really wanted to name it Terra. Basically, as soon as I decided I wanted to use an Aerodactyl, I wanted to name it Terra, for the sheer fact that I wanted to reference back to a team member that was on my Fossil Fighters team back in, of course, my Fossil Fighters Let's Play. But I just think it's a really good nickname for it. Also, did it not take the nickname for some reason? That was weird. I thought it would have said Terra was sent back to the PC. So I'm just going to meet you over there. Alright, now that we are in the Pokemon Center, let's go ahead and boot up the PC, Bill's PC, and move Pokemon. And let's check out Terra. First off, did it take the name? It did get the name. Okay, that's good. And Rash Nature. I have no idea what that boosts, if I'm being completely honest. And the ability Pressure. God damn it. Rockhead is definitely the better of the abilities, but Pressure is not horrible, all things considered. I guess I just won't be using, like, Double Edge and moves like that. But other than that, on screen you'll see what the IVs and the Nature do, because I have no idea what they do right now. But with that being said, let's see what the attacks are. Or attack, I guess. It has Wing Attack. At least it's a stab move. And you are coming with me, Terra. We are just going to switch out for Paris. And Paris can sit next to Pidgey as the HM Pokemons. But with that being said, I think this is going to be the end of the episode. So I hope everyone enjoyed watching. If you did, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. In between episodes, I'm going to go back to previous routes and fight all the trainers so that I can get Terra at least close to up to par with the rest of my Pokemon. And then next episode, we are going to be taking on the Pokemon Mansion and the Cinnabar Gym. But until then, happy adventuring!